I'm Mary Sonic. Welcome again to our video series on lead user research. In this video, we will focus on the major research activities of phases 3 and 4 of a lead user study. In phase 3, the project team generates preliminary solution concepts with the help of information provided by lead users. Then in the fourth and final phase, the team further develops its solution concepts in a 2.5-day lead user workshop. For the workshop, the team brings in a small group of lead users and other leading experts to do intensive solution work.
In this video, Professor Eric von Hippel first explains the methods that teams use to identify the solution ideas of lead users in Phase 3. Then lead user team coach, Dr. Joan Churchill, shows the solution work that is done in the Phase 4 lead user workshop. Recall from our earlier videos that lead users have been the actual inventors of many commercially successful products and services. In Phase 3, project teams begin the search for those leading-edge users who have developed innovations that are relevant to their project.
During Phase 3, teams collect most of their solution information from lead users with telephone interviewing. In addition, they typically conduct a few site visits. These can be costly, but they're well worth it when an innovation is both promising and difficult to explain via telephone. Site visits enable teams to do two things that cannot be done by phone. First, they help team members observe the context of product use. And secondly, team members can directly gather sticky information that the interviewees find it hard to put into words. Consider, for example, the case of a lead user firm that has developed a novel type of robot to perform complex production tasks.
During a visit to the factory, the project team could acquire detailed information on the nature of the work performed by the robot. Beyond that, members would gather critical contextual data, like exactly how the robot fits in with the whole assembly line process, what types of problems occur, and how workers handle them. As further illustration, in the sport of windsurfing, competitive windsurfers were the first to develop the foot strap attachment that is now a standard part of the board design. This was a major innovation because for the first time, it enabled windsurfers to control the flight direction during jumps and keep the board safely attached during landing. It's another case where the project team would not get adequate information on the lead user invention by telephone. However, during a site visit, team members could acquire detailed design data, like the precise placement of the strap, and gather important information about how the strap aided in performing acrobatic maneuvers.
Solutions developed by single lead users, whether they're individuals or firms, are very seldom a good fit to your intended target market as is. Teams will seldom say, "Look, a complete product for us developed by a lead user, and the designer even left space for our company logo." It'll never happen. Lead users solve the problem they need to solve in a manner that's adequate for their own needs. They have no incentive to go further. Therefore, teams must typically combine information from a number of lead users to end up with a commercially attractive solution concept.
The Nortel Networks project featured in a previous video is a good illustration of how teams adapt and combine lead user solutions. During Phase 3, the Nortel project team identified and interviewed 20 lead users who had invented their own wireless software systems for transmitting location-based data. For example, technologists at a lead user law enforcement agency had developed a computerized police car that contained a unique system for maintaining a wireless voice and data link between dispatchers and patrol officers. The team found other important lead user innovations among professional storm trackers, a group with a high need for wireless solutions that enable transmission of data and voice as it's happening. Now, team members did not uncover a single user invention that exactly fit the requirements of their targeted markets. However, in combination, lead user innovations gave the team very valuable pieces of design information that became central features of their final concepts.
Thus far, we've been emphasizing the importance of collecting and combining information from a number of lead users. However, the expertise and innovation talents of your team members are also key to adapting lead user solutions to the needs of your target markets. Let me illustrate with a lead user project conducted by a major banking firm to develop new home banking services.
During Phase 3 of the banking project, the team identified computer-savvy lead users who had developed novel home banking services that were a good fit with the market needs identified. Team members knew, however, that the bulk of targeted consumers did not have sophisticated computer capabilities, so they adapted the PC-based lead user innovations by developing software that enabled consumers to access the novel services by telephone.
We're saying, then, that project teams combine solution information from a number of lead users, and they also add solution content themselves. Now, it takes networking effort to identify lead users with the right solution information, but it's time well spent. After all, lead users understand their needs far more deeply than your project team can. They live there. And they have repeatedly tested and refined their solutions in their actual use environment. In other words, lead users have done concept development and at least some level of alpha testing for you. Further, since there are typically many lead users independently developing novel solutions, your team has a lot of out-of-the-box ideas to choose from.
Teams meet weekly throughout Phase 3 to think of ways to apply and creatively combine the many pieces of solution information they have collected. By the conclusion of this phase, they have typically generated several alternative and promising solution concepts. These solutions will then be further developed and improved, primarily through a lead user workshop in Phase 4. Coming up now, Dr. Churchill explains the nature of the solution work that is done in the lead user workshop.
I want to start with the question of what can be learned from holding a lead user workshop. Essentially, the workshop is used to fill in the key missing pieces in the team's preliminary solutions. Let me illustrate with the workshop that was held by a project team in 3M's filtration division.
In the filtration project, the team's overall task was to develop a unique type of clean room concept using 3M's new filtration technology. The targeted users were smaller businesses seeking clean room capabilities that were much more affordable and flexible than the standard, very extravagant solutions.
We used our workshop to generate clean room concepts that user firms could customize to fit their own requirements. The team already had promising solution ideas. However, we wanted to see if there were truly unique and low-cost filtration concepts we hadn't uncovered. We also included an activity where participants were asked to map out a market entry strategy. Since this is a new market for our division, we needed to learn more about the potential obstacles to a successful product launch, particularly from the perspective of people who actually worked in the field.
Participants included people from several different types of businesses with leading-edge clean room facilities. Several had actually developed their own low-cost air quality control processes.
To appreciate the value of the workshop, consider that the team has assembled a group of innovators and the very best experts available. And over those 2.5 days, these people are immersed in jointly solving problems that they all care very deeply about. The results can be truly powerful.
We were astounded at the depth of thinking and creativity that came out as people became more and more involved in the problem-solving activities. Not only did they produce a revolutionary design perfectly suited to our filter materials, the group was diverse enough to identify other applications where our technologies provide ideal solutions.
Now, a closer look at the workshop design. As illustration, you'll be seeing parts of the workshop that was held by a team in 3M's Performance Chemicals division.
The overall goal of this project was to find major new applications and entry markets for a revolutionary refrigeration technology developed at 3M. In the workshop, the team chose to focus on developing solution concepts for restaurants, a market with a high need for refrigeration that was efficient and adaptable to small spaces, key benefits of 3M's technology.
In terms of participants, teams invite 10 to 12 lead users and other experts who have the various skills and knowledge needed for the work that will be done. The project team also attends and facilitates all the workshop activities.
In the Performance Chemicals workshop, the 11 lead users and experts were invited for their expertise related to designing novel kitchens and refrigeration equipment. To cite a few examples, Don Silvers, a professor of design at UCLA, had designed award-winning restaurant kitchen layouts. Ron Dates is in the cruise ship business, a lead user in the area of refrigeration equipment.
In the past 5 years, we've embraced a lot of new technology on the cruise lines in order to become more efficient. Some of these new technologies are cook and chill.
In the area of refrigeration equipment, the group especially relied on the inventive talents of Mike Coburn, president of the leading company in cooking equipment.
We did work all over the world, and a couple of pieces of equipment we designed that we were proud of was a camel oven for the University of Baghdad. Not one of our...
Robin Ashton and Brian Ward were co-founders of the leading restaurant equipment journal. They were invited for their knowledge of market and technology trends.
Now, what actually happens over the 2.5 days of the workshop? Let's start with the day one activities.
The startup activities in the Performance Chemicals workshop are typical of what happens on day one. Team leader Mary Pohl opened the workshop at 1:30.
Our first day was designed to get participants relaxed with the expectations that we had for the next few days. We started out by covering again the objectives of the workshop so they knew what role that they would play, and then we allowed for ample time for personal introductions by each of the lead users.
Before the workshop, participants were told they would be asked to share their special accomplishments or innovations that were relevant to the workshop. So many came prepared with slides and presentations of their work.
Following introductions, our team's technical expert, Greg Sherwood, led a 45-minute explanation and question and answer session on our technology. Finally, following dinner, we held a 1.5-hour discussion on revolutionary occurrences that we've all witnessed within the restaurant industry. The discussion got very lively and was intended to get the participants in the mindset that we were really going for breakthrough ideas for the rest of the workshop.
A note about introductions. We suggest that you allow a good 1.5 hours for this activity. It's time well spent because participants are very eager to learn the special knowledge and skills of each person.
Next, the general problem-solving process that the group follows once solution development work begins on day 2.
Now, for each major design activity, the group goes through a 3-step process. First, smaller groups develop initial solution ideas. Then, after 2 or 3 hours of work, the whole group convenes to improve on the solutions that were generated. And finally, the group informally evaluates the commercial value of the solutions. Now, it takes 4 or 5 hours for this whole process, so you shouldn't plan more than 2 or at the most 3 key design activities over the 1.5 days. Now, how do you set up a challenging and engaging problem-solving process? A good example here is the first design activity in the Performance Chemicals workshop.
The morning of day 2, the group was given the assignment of designing the restaurant kitchen of the future using 3M's refrigeration technology.
We formed 2 subgroups to tackle 2 different types of designs. One was a full-service kitchen layout, and the other one was a fast food store concept. I kicked off the activity with a starter list of factors that they should consider in their work, and then one of our teammates, John Pignato, demonstrated one of the tools that the subgroups had available for their designs.
Designed for, this is a 3 by 3 by 3 volume. So if you were to put 2 of these together, you've got a 3 by 6 workstation or something like that that you can work on top of.
So this is still our receiving entrance, right?
No, that's so that's 6 by 6, right?
Subgroups devoted the morning to creating their layouts. Then after lunch, they presented them to the entire group.
It's the Ron and Don show. With a lot of help from all of these people sitting here. So that was the basic premise. And when we began this exercise, we decided that there were no holds barred. It didn't matter what the money was.
A couple features I want to underscore about this activity. Notice that each small group worked on a design for a different market segment. We recommend that you assign 2 or maybe 3 subgroups to work on different aspects of the problem. This way you'll get richer and much more detailed design work. Also, notice the physical tools that were available to participants. Supplies like these really help engage people in the task, and they are very valuable problem-solving aids. One final note on how teams wrap up their lead user projects. They typically take 2 or maybe 3 weeks to first integrate the ideas from the workshop into finalized solution concepts. They also pull together a strong business case for their solutions. Then finally, teams meet with their management to present the project outcomes.
In summary, Professor Von Hippel and Dr. Churchill have shown you the methods that project teams use to capture the solution ideas of people at the cutting edge. You'll find the work exciting as well as a lot of fun. And we predict your management will be very pleased with the results.